Unit 1, moving in. Carolyn Duval is moving into the neighborhood. Listen to the conversations.
Excuse me, are you Mrs. Baxter?
No, I'm not.
Sorry. Excuse me, are you Mrs. Baxter?
Yes, I am.
How do you do, Mrs. Baxter? I'm Carolyn Duval.
How do you do, Miss Duval? Nice to meet you. Let's see. Carolyn. C-A-R-O-L-Y-N?
Yes, that's right.
Could you spell your last name, please?
D-U-V-A-L.
Sign here, please.
Hello, Mrs. Baxter.
Oh, hello, Maggie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Hi, are you my new neighbor? Yes, I am. My name's Carolyn Duval.
I'm Maggie Sloan. I live upstairs.
Nice to meet you, Maggie.
Nice to meet you too, Carolyn.
Hi, it's so nice to see you again. Today we're going to talk about moving in. There are millions of people all over the world who move, which means they change their places, their residence, or their workplaces. This happens to be the topic of our lesson today. Some people find it difficult. Some people find it exciting to find new people, new friends, and something like that. So let's see, here in this lesson, there are two main characters. One is Carolyn Duval, who is a tenant. It means she doesn't have a home. She doesn't have a home of her own, in fact. She rents homes. And the other person is Mrs. Baxter, a landlady, which means a woman who owns a home to rent, to give it to other people to live in. So let's see what happens here in this lesson, and we listen to the conversation together now. First, we'll listen to the whole part, to all parts of the conversation, and then we talk more about that together again. Let's listen in.
Unit 1, page 2. Moving in. Carolyn Duval is moving into the neighborhood. Listen to the conversations.
Excuse me, are you Mrs. Baxter?
No, I'm not.
Sorry. Excuse me, are you Mrs. Baxter?
Yes, I am.
How do you do, Mrs. Baxter? I'm Carolyn Duval.
How do you do, Miss Duval? Nice to meet you. Let's see. Carolyn. C-A-R-O-L-Y-N?
Yes, that's right.
Could you spell your last name, please?
D-U-V-A-L.
Sign here, please.
Hello, Mrs. Baxter.
Oh, hello, Maggie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Hi, are you my new neighbor?
Yes, I am. My name's Carolyn Duval.
I'm Maggie Sloan. I live upstairs.
Nice to meet you, Maggie.
Nice to meet you too, Carolyn.
Now listen to the conversations again and repeat each line.
Excuse me, are you Mrs. Baxter?
No, I'm not.
Sorry. Excuse me, are you Mrs. Baxter?
Yes, I am.
How do you do, Mrs. Baxter? I'm Carolyn Duval.
do, Miss Duval? Nice to meet you. Let's see. Carolyn. Carolyn?
Yes, that's right.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Duval.
Sign here, please.
Hello, Mrs. Baxter.
Oh, hello, Maggie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Hi, are you my new neighbor?
Yes, I am. My name's Carolyn Duval.
I'm Maggie Sloan. I live upstairs.
Nice to meet you, Maggie.
Nice to meet you too, Carolyn.
Okay, now, before going any further, first let's talk about some words and expressions we have and we can see here. The subject of this lesson, as you can see, is moving in. What does this mean? It means when we go into our new home, when we enter our new apartment or house, whatever, we go inside. We go into the neighborhood. That's why we say moving in. Then it says on the top of the page, Carolyn Duval is moving into the neighborhood. What is neighborhood? It's a small part of the city. It's a small area in which a lot of people live together. So that is neighborhood. A lot of neighbors live together. A small part of the city. In part A, as we can see, Carolyn speaks to a woman first. Carolyn says, sorry. Sorry is the short form of I'm sorry. As you may know, in daily conversations, people don't usually say I am sorry. They make it short and say sorry, and that's enough. Then after that, Carolyn Duval is successful. She finds Mrs. Baxter and she says, excuse me, are you Mrs. Baxter? Yes, I am. I am Mrs. Baxter. Then she says, how do you do, Mrs. Baxter? How do you do is a special expression. We use it when we meet people for the first time. It's something like nice to meet you. It's like that. Then, as you can see, Mrs. Baxter also repeats the same expression. Says, how do you do, Miss Duval? Nice to meet you. Of course, Miss is used for the girls, those who are not married yet. Part C. Carolyn Duval and Mrs. Baxter talk to each other. Mrs. Baxter says, let's see, Carolyn. Carolyn. Let's see is an expression we use when we want to concentrate, think a little bit more about something. We use let's see. Then she spells her name, her first name, Carolyn, and she says that's right. Well, then she says, Mrs. Baxter, could you spell your last name, please? Could is the past form of can. We use it to sound a little more polite. In a formal conversation, we use could to be more polite. Then Carolyn spells her last name, Duval. Then Mrs. Baxter says, sign here, please. Sign is a special way you write your name, and in order to put under the contract or something like that. We put the signature. We write our names in a special way. So that is signature or signing. Yeah, that's it. Then on the other page, we can see another neighbor comes in, Maggie. She lives in the building. She says, "Hello, Mrs. Baxter." And she replies, "Oh, hello, Maggie, how are you?" How are you is the question we ask if we want to know people are okay, they are all right, healthy, not sick, how they are, in fact. Good, how are you? Fine, thanks. Fine means good or okay. And thanks is a short form of thank you, is a friendly way of saying thank you. Then she says something to Carolyn. "Hi, are you my new neighbor?" What is neighbor? Someone who lives next door to us. Yeah, so that is neighbor, some people who live next to our home or our apartment. Carolyn says, "Yes, I am. My name's Carolyn Duval. I'm Maggie Sloan. I live upstairs." As you can see in the picture, upstairs, you can see there are stairs. When we go up, yeah, to another story in the building, we say upstairs. Up the stairs. We go upwards. Upstairs. "Nice to meet you, Maggie. Nice to meet you too, Carolyn." So this was the conversation. Now, beside this, you can see some exercises in order to make sure we understood everything. It's very important. Yeah, it checks our understanding. It is absolutely important that we take a short time, maybe 5 minutes or so, to answer them. So, first it says, say right or wrong. There are some sentences. It asks us to answer if they are right according to this story and according to this conversation. So, we have always one example. Number one is always answered. So, for example, number one says, Carolyn Duval meets Mrs. Baxter, right? Because we can see it in part B, they meet, they talk to each other, so it is right. Second exercise, choose A or B. There is one question, there are two answers, only one of them is correct. Another example is given to us. Number one says, are you my new neighbor? Two answers. Part A, I live upstairs. Part B, yes I am. So as you can see, I live upstairs is meaningless. It doesn't correspond to the question. So yes I am is the correct answer. So there are more. Exercise 3, match. There are some questions. On the other side, they have answers. And we should choose the right answer to each question. Again, we have an example. Number one is answered for us. Says, are you Mrs. Baxter? Part E, no, I'm not. This is the correct answer. So I ask you now to take time, maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes or so, or 5 minutes, to think about all of these. Take a piece of paper and write the answers, answer these exercises, in fact, and then we can check it together to see if they are correct or not. After that, after doing this, we listen to the conversation again and repeat each line after the speakers. It's also very important to repeat because listening is very important. We listen, and then repeating and speaking is another part of the task, another important part of the task. It is good for our pronunciation. We make sure that we pronounce the words correctly. Our pronunciation is okay or not. So now please listen to the conversations, and after each person repeat in a loud voice. There are pauses for you after each sentence so that you could have enough time to repeat each sentence. Okay, let's do it now. Thanks.
Now listen to the conversations again and repeat each line.
Excuse me, are you Mrs. Baxter?
No, I'm not.
Sorry. Excuse me, are you Mrs. Baxter?
Yes, I am.
How do you do, Mrs. Baxter? I'm Carolyn Duvall.
How do you do, Miss Duval? Nice to meet you. Let's see. Carolyn. C-A-R-O-L-Y-N?
Yes, that's right.
Could you spell your last name, please?
D-U-V-A-L.
Sign here, please.
Hello, Mrs. Baxter.
Oh, hello, Maggie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Hi, are you my new neighbor?
Yes, I am. My name's Carolyn Duvall.
I'm Maggie Sloan. I live upstairs.
Nice to meet you, Maggie.
Nice to meet you too, Carolyn.
Okay, thanks. Good work. Now we check the exercises together. Figure it out. Figure it out means understand it. Number 1 says Carolyn Duvall meets Mrs. Baxter. It is right. We can see it. In part B, it happens. Number 2, Carolyn's last name is Duvall. Of course, the answer is right because, again, in part B, she says, I'm Carolyn Duvall. So, it is right. Number 3, Carolyn lives upstairs from Maggie. Is it right or wrong? What do you think? Of course, it is wrong because Maggie lives upstairs from Carolyn, not Carolyn upstairs, because in part D, Maggie says, I live upstairs. So number 3 is wrong. Number 4, Carolyn is Maggie's neighbor. Of course, it is right because in part D, she says, are you my new neighbor? Carolyn says, yes, I am. Part 2, choose A or B. So number 1 is answered. We talked about it before. Number 2, D-U-V-A-L, 2 answers. Yes, I am. Yes, that's right. What do you think? Which one is correct? Of course, B is correct. Yes, that's right. Part A, yes, I am, is absolutely irrelevant, meaningless here. Number 3, are you Mrs. Baxter? 2 answers. Yes, I am. My name's Sylvia Baxter. What do you think? What is your answer? So, which one is correct? A is correct. Yes, I am. Because it's a yes-no question. Part B says, my name's Sylvia Baxter. It's information. It's about information question. We don't have it. We have yes-no question. So A is correct. Part 4. My name's Carolyn Duvall. 2 answers. How do you do, Miss Duvall? Yes, that's right. So, what do you think? Which one is right? Yes, exactly. How do you do, Miss Duvall? Because she is introducing herself and the other person is saying nice to meet you or how do you do, because we said how do you do is like nice to meet you. So B is wrong here. Exercise 3, match. Number 1 is an example. We answered it, we talked about it before. Number 2, how do you do? What do you think? Which one is correct? What is the answer on the other side? Sure, C. how do you do? We repeat the same thing. Number 3, could you spell your last name? What do you think about this? Which one is correct on the other side? Yeah, could you spell your last name? D-U-V-A-L. B is correct. Thank you. Number 4, how are you? Which one is right here? Alright, G, fine. Fine is correct. Part G. Number 5, C-A-R-O-L-Y-N. What do you think? That's right, F. That's right, F is the correct answer indeed. Right. Number 6, nice to meet you. So? Sure. Thank you, that's correct. A, nice to meet you, 2. And the last one, sign here please. Sure. Part D, we can see Carolyn Duvall is a signature, the way she writes her name. Well, thanks. You've done a great job. Alright, let's go to the next part. Okay folks, welcome to a new stage of our lesson, which is very important also. It is called Ways to Say It. So, let us begin. Look at number 1. It says, ask who someone is. There is a question. It says, excuse me, are you Mrs. Baxter? 2 answers. Yes, I am. Or, no, I'm not. Then the other person says, sorry. So it's a very short exchange. It's a short dialogue between 2 people. Something which is very important is the formation of the words. If you look at the first sentence, excuse me, are you are written in a normal way, but Mrs. Baxter is written in italics, is not written in a normal way. What does this mean? It means we change them. For example, instead of Mrs. Baxter, I say something else. Excuse me, are you Mrs. Nelson? The other person says, yes, I am. Or if she is not, Mrs. Nelson says, no, I'm not. And then I say, sorry. Here we have normal way of a dialogue in actual life. Because, for example, you are walking along the street, you see someone familiar, you go and speak to that person and say something like, excuse me, are you Mr. Roberts? There is a possibility that he is Mr. Roberts or he is not Mr. Roberts. If he is Mr. Roberts, he says, yes, I am. So the first one, the first answer. If he is not Mr. Robert, he says, no, I'm not. And then we say, sorry. So this is the actual, normal kind of dialogue that we can have every day, anytime. So look at the pictures. There are 2 pictures. I'm sure you remember them. They are 2 famous politicians. The first one is George Washington. The second one is Abraham Lincoln. In the picture, someone says, excuse me, are you George Washington? The first one says, yes, I am. But the second one says, no, I'm not. So they are telling the truth. They are giving the answers based on the reality. Now I guess you understood what this page is all about. Now we go to number 2, exercise 2. It says introduce yourself. In the box there are 2 options, a hello and hi. What does it mean? It means we can choose either of them. We can have 2 forms of conversation. We can either say, hello, my name's Carolyn Duvall. The other person says, I'm Maggie Sloan. Or we can say, "Hi, my name is Carolyn Duvall." Then the other person can say, "I'm Maggie Sloan," or can use another name, can say, "I am Julia Nelson," any other name. Yeah? So I guess this is clarified now, right? The words in italics, right, are put there so that you could use an alternative to replace it with something else. Imagine someone talks to me and says, "Hello, my name's Jeff Williams," and I say my own name. I say, "I'm Shannon Garib," for example, or any kind of name. Number 3, it says, "Meet someone formally." Formally means officially or very politely. The example says, "How do you do, Mrs. Baxter?" The answer, "How do you do, Miss Duvall? Nice to meet you." So, Mrs. Baxter is in italics. What does it mean? It means it is changeable. We can use alternatives. So, I give you one example. Instead of Mrs. Baxter, I say, "How do you do, Mrs. Jackson," for example. And the other person says, "How do you do, Miss Nelson? Nice to meet you," instead of Miss Duvall. So as you can see, we can change them. We can change the words according to our needs and circumstances based on what the reality is. Now, exercise 4. Meet someone less formally. Less formally or less officially or more friendly, in a more friendly way. It says, "Nice to meet you, Maggie." "Nice to meet you too, Carolyn." So Maggie and Carolyn are written in a special way in italics, which means they are changeable. So we use alternatives. So I do something else. I say, "Nice to meet you, Jack," and the other person says, "Oh, nice to meet you too, Shannon." So as you can see, we change the conversation based on the reality. Another example. "Nice to meet you, Mary," and Mary says, "Nice to meet you too, Shannon." Number 5. Greet someone. Greet means say, "Hello, how are you?" Something like this. It says, "Hello, Maggie, how are you?" Then, "Good, how are you?" "Fine, thanks." So in the box you can see 4 different words, which can be replaced. So we can practice this dialogue in another way. Instead of Maggie, I say, "Hello, Rosa, how are you?" And then she says, "Fine, how are you?" And then I say, "Okay, thanks." As you can see, the words are changed. So we can say a lot of things like this. One more practice with a new name. "Hello, Robert, how are you?" "Okay, how are you?" "Good, thanks." Well, that's the way it is. So number 6, the alphabet. Very important to know the alphabet. If we don't know the alphabet, we cannot speak the language, of course. First, let's read them. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, or Z. We can also say Z instead of Z. Number 7. Ask how to spell someone's name. We have to spell our names sometimes. It says, could you spell your last name, please? D-U-V-A-L. So here the word last is in italics, which means it is changeable. Yeah, we can say something else. We can say, could you spell your first name, please? And then instead of D-U-V-A-L, I spell my own name. I say S-H-A-N-N-O-N. Well, this was the ways to say it part for lesson 1. Okay, folks, now in this part we can see some exercises in connection with what we have learned and heard up to now. So on the top you can see 2 pictures. There are 2 conversations. The picture on the left is a formal conversation, and you can see it is written Mr. William Glass and Mrs. Barbara Smith. So we have the title Mr. and Mrs., which shows this is a formal conversation. The picture on the right is informal conversation. You can see Mike Crowley, Tom Young, without titles. So this is a friendly and informal conversation. On the left side, exercise 1 says, complete the conversations, then act them out. Means perform them, do them. We have some blanks. It says, hello, my name's something. Then, how do you do? Blank, I'm blank. How do you do? Blank, nice to meet you. In the blanks, we should fill in the names. So what do you think we should write? Which names should we write? Could you think about them? Well, so we should choose the names in the picture on the left side because it's a more formal conversation. It says, hello, my name's William Glass. How do you do, Mr. Glass? I'm Barbara Smith. How do you do, Mrs. Smith? Nice to meet you. How do we understand it's a formal conversation? By saying how do you do, which is formal. Now, conversation 2. We can see it starts with hi. Hi is friendly and informal. So naturally, it goes to the picture on the right side. So, we practice the conversation like this. Hi, I'm Mike Crowley. Then the other person says, nice to meet you, Mike. My name's Tom Young. Nice to meet you too, Tom. So here we use the first names because it's an informal conversation. Now exercise 2. Practice this conversation. Use your own names. It says, what's your name, please? Carolyn Duval. Could you spell your last name? D-U-V-A-L. So Carolyn Duval is written in italics, which means we can substitute. We can use an alternative. How do we do that? We do it this way. What's your name, please? John MacArthur, for example. Could you spell your last name? M-C-A-R-T-H-U-R. In this way, we put new names. We use alternatives. So when you talk to someone like this, you could use your own name in the same way. Now, exercise 3. It says, your name please, Bob Nielsen, Nielsen. Yes, that's right, because in the box we can see it like that, written like that. But on the other side, your name please, Bob Nielsen, Nielson? No, Nielsen. So, where does this name come from? Nielson? From the box on the right side. Another spelling. Another spelling is the one which is not correct, which is not this person's name. So, here there are different names, so we can use them one by one and we can practice them in the same way.
Page 6. Welcome to Willow Street. George Arno, owner of Arno's Coffee Shop, meets his new neighbor, Carolyn Duval. 1. Comprehension dialogue. Listen to the conversation.
What's that?
I don't know.
Hi.
Hello.
Moving in?
Yes, I am.
Well then, we're neighbors. My name's George Arno. That's my coffee shop.
I'm Carolyn Duval. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Miss Laval.
No, Duval. But just call me Carolyn.
Okay, Carolyn. And you can call me George.
George!
Excuse me, Mr. Arno? Mrs. Arno wants to know...
Thanks, Jeff. Come in, Loretta. Well, nice meeting you, Carolyn. Come in for coffee sometime.
Thank you, I will.
Okay, folks, the conversation we heard just now is called comprehension dialogue. Comprehension is something that we must understand. Based on what we have learned until now, this dialogue is given to us to test our understanding. In all units throughout our English course, we have this kind of comprehension dialogue. Let's see what words we have here. Welcome to Willow Street. Welcome is a word we use when we want to show that we are happy someone came to our home, our neighborhood, our building, and something like that. So we say, welcome. On the top of the page, it says, George Arno, owner of Arno's Coffee Shop, meets his new neighbor, Carolyn Duval. Owner. Owner is someone who has something in his or her possession, like a home, a shop, a supermarket, whatsoever. Owner. George says hi. Carolyn says hello. And George says moving in, which means, are you moving in? Are you moving into the neighborhood? Yes, I am. Well, then we are neighbors. My name is George Arno. That's my coffee shop. He shows his coffee shop. And Carolyn says, I'm Carolyn Duval. Nice to meet you. We learned before. We say nice to meet you when we meet someone for the first time. George says, nice to meet you, Miss Laval. No, Duval. Just call me Carolyn. Well, it is customary that people call each other by their first names, yeah, especially in America or even in Europe. Yeah. Okay, Carolyn, you can call me George. And then Loretta, George's wife, is calling him from the coffee shop. We can see her in the picture. And then Jeff a boy who works for them at the coffee shop says, "Excuse me, Mr. Arno, Mrs. Arno wants to talk to you," or whatever, like this. And then Loretta, George's wife, calls him again. Maybe she is a little jealous because she sees that her husband is talking to a young girl. Who knows? George says, "Thanks, Jeff. Coming, Loretta," which means, "I'm coming, Loretta." "Well, nice meeting you, Caroline. Come in for coffee sometime." Nice meeting you is said when we want to leave the person and when we finish the conversation, when we met someone for the first time. When we start the conversation, we say, "Nice to meet you," and when we want to leave and we want to say goodbye, we say, "Nice meeting you." Come in for coffee sometime. Sometime means anytime in the future. Anytime. Tomorrow, this afternoon, the day after tomorrow, next week, anytime. And Caroline says, "Thank you, I will. I will come to your coffee shop." Now, on the other page, there is an exercise. Figure it out, which is about this conversation. It wants to test our understanding if we got the whole things correct or not. Number 1 says, "Caroline is George Arno's new neighbor." That's right. It says right, but how do we know it's right? Could you think a little bit about this? How do we know this is right? Let's go to the conversation and think. Yeah, we understand it is right because George says, "Well, then we are neighbors." Because of this, number 1 is right. So, number 2, Arno's is a coffee shop on Willow Street. Right or wrong? What do you think? Think a little. So, yeah, that's right, because on the top it says, "Welcome to Willow Street." It happens on Willow Street, in fact. Number 3, Caroline's last name is Lovell. Is it correct or not? Any idea? So it is wrong because her last name is Duval. George makes a mistake and says Lovell, but Caroline corrects him and says, "No, it's Duval." So number 3 is wrong. Number 4, Mrs. Arno's first name is Loretta. Well, right or wrong? Yeah, that's right, because in the conversation we see George says, "Coming, Loretta," so her name is Loretta. Number 5, Caroline is moving into the neighborhood. Right or wrong? Of course right, because George says moving in and Caroline says, "Yes, I am," and then George says, "Well, then we are neighbors." So this was the figure it out section for the comprehension dialogue that we just heard. Now, after this we have exercise 3, which is called listen in. Listen in means listen carefully. So here there is nothing written for us. We should only focus our attention on the conversation, on the audio, and then answer the question which is asked. Okay, folks, now let's listen to what the man in the phone booth has to say. The phone booth is the phone cabin. Let's listen carefully.
Page 7. 3. Listen in. The man in the phone booth is making an appointment. Listen to the conversation. Spell the man's last name.
Your name, please?
Jim Kowalski.
Could you spell your last name?
Kowalski.
Kowalsky?
No, Ski.
Now spell the man's last name.
So, how do we spell the man's last name? He said on the phone, Jim Kowalski. Kowalski. And he spelled it. Did you pay attention how he spelled his name? Kowalski. On the phone, the woman by mistake said SKY, and then he corrected her and said no, SKI. So, how do we spell one more time the man's last name? Jim Kowalski. Kowalski. Okay, folks. Now here we see a special drill called Say It Right. In this part, we have short conversations all the time, in all lessons, in all units. And here you can see some lines, the lines which go up and come down. These up and downs, in fact, show the rise and fall of the tone of the voice. When people speak, on different occasions every day, the tone of the voice sometimes goes up, sometimes comes down, and here this exercise, this drill, shows how it happens. We listen to this short conversation and we pay attention to the lines which go up and down, and after that we are supposed to repeat after the speakers. Let's listen in and then let's repeat.
4. Say it right. Practice this conversation. First, listen to the conversation.
Hi, my name's Maggie Sloan.
Nice to meet you. I'm Carolyn Duvall.
Now listen to the conversation again and repeat each line.
Hi, my name's Maggie Sloan.
Nice to meet you. I'm Carolyn Duvall.
Okay, folks, now a new section which is called Close Up. This section is about grammar points that we have had in this lesson. We look at them closely. Here it's about present tense of be, am, is, contractions. Of course, be has different forms. Here, am and is are discussed, and contractions means the short forms. We have two boxes. On the left side we have full forms. On the right side we have contractions. First we have I am George Arno. Then on the other side, I'm George Arno. Apostrophe M is used to make a contraction. Then on the left side, my name is Carolyn Duvall. On the right side, my name's Carolyn Duvall. Apostrophe S makes it short for us. Then it is nice to meet you on the left side. On the right side, it's nice to meet you. Apostrophe S makes it short for us. Then in another box, you can see an exception. On the left side, contractions. No, I'm not. On the right side, no contraction. Yes, I am. It means for yes, I am, we cannot have any contractions as a short answer. Now, exercise 1 says fill in the blanks with apostrophe M or apostrophe S for contraction. It means sometimes we cannot have contractions, sometimes we can have contractions. So let's think about it for a short time. Think about it for about 2 minutes. Okay, now let's see what the answers are. So number 1 says, hi, my name's Mary Cole. Then, oh, are you Lou Cole's wife? Yes, I am. Here we cannot have a contraction because it's a short answer. I am. Number 2, excuse me, are you Sam Peters? No, I'm not. My name's Lou Cole. Sorry. Number 3, I'm Gary Stevens. I live upstairs. It's nice to meet you, Gary. It's nice to meet you too. Here we can have contractions, as you can see. Exercise 2 says fill in the blanks with I, me, my, you, or your. Well, of course, I is a subject pronoun. In fact, subject is the doer of the action. Me is objective pronoun, and my, in fact, is about possession. It is possessive adjective. And you, in fact, can be object pronoun, can be subject pronoun, depending on the case. And your is a possessive adjective. It shows that we possess something, we own something, we have something, like your pen, your book, your house, something like this. And it is used with nouns all the time. Well, we have some examples in the boxes. Let's pay attention to those sentences. Pronouns. I, me, my. I'm Jack. So I is a subject, the doer of the action. Excuse me. Me is an object, is the receiver of the action. Then my. My is a possessive adjective, and it is always with a name. Without a name it is meaningless. It shows that I have something. My book, my name, my pen, my car. So my name's Jack. Then we have in another box, are you Mr. Taylor? Here we have the subject pronoun. You is a pronoun which is used instead of names. Nice to meet you. This you is an object pronoun. Yeah, it is nice to meet you. For example, I am meeting you. I am the subject. I do the action. I do the activity of meeting, and you are the receiver of the action. Object, not a subject. Your name, please. Yeah, here is possessive adjective. Your name means the name is yours. It belongs to you. You have it. You possess it. So let's think about this exercise for a few minutes, and then we check them together. Alright, let's see what we have. Fill in the blanks with I, me, my, you, or your. Number 1. Excuse me, are you Jack Taylor? No, I'm not. Sorry. Number 2. Hello, my name's Loretta Arno. Nice to meet you. Loretta, are you George Arno's wife? Yes, I am. Number 3. Your name, please. Loretta Arno. Could you spell your first name? My first name, Loretta. Alright. Now let's move on to the next one. Exercise 3. Who am I? Match the description with the character. So we have some names, some pictures, and then we have some explanation. We should compare the explanation or the information with the names and with the people, and then decide which belongs to who. Think about it. Alright, let's read it. My last name's Arno, but my first name is not George. So, if it is not George, then it is Loretta Arno. We have only 2 Arnos. The second one. I am George Arno's neighbor, but I am not Carolyn Duvall. So, who should the person be? Maggie Sloan. There are 2 girls in that building, one Carolyn Duvall, one Maggie Sloan. So if it is not Carolyn, it is Maggie. Then, I work at Arno's coffee shop, but Loretta is not my wife. Who is that? Jeff. Jeff Hunt, the boy who works for George Arno at the coffee shop. So on the right side, there is a box, grammar mystery. Mystery is a secret. We should discover. One word is missing. We should understand what it is. For I am, we have I'm Carolyn. Second part, you are, what should you say in the blank? Your, contraction of you are, the short form of you are. You're George. Then the next one, it is, it's nice to meet you. So that is the grammar.
Listen to the conversations. Choose A or B. Charles Lowe has a new apartment. He's looking for Marie Thomas. She lives in his building. 1.
Excuse me, are you Marie Thomas?
No, I'm not. 2.
Excuse me, are you Charles Lowe?
No, I'm not.
Sorry.
3.
Hello, are you Marie Thomas?
Yes, I am.
I'm Charles Lowe.
4.
Hi, are you my new neighbor?
Yes, I am. I live upstairs.
Nice to meet you.
5.
Excuse me, are you Charles Lowe?
Yes, I am.
Sign here, please.
Exercise 2. Listen to the conversation. Then choose the picture that matches it. Choose A or B. 1.
Morgan? M-O-R-G-A-N?
Yes, that's right. 2.
Are you George Arthur?
No, I'm not.
3.
Could you spell your last name, please?
John-S-O-N.
4.
Hi, I'm Jeff Nelson. I live upstairs.
Hi, I'm Dorothy Burns.
It's nice to meet you.
Exercise 7. Listen to the students registering for their classes. Circle the name you hear in each conversation. 1.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Duval. D-U-V-A-L. 2.
Spell your last name, please.
Johnston. Johnston.
3.
Could you spell your last name, please?
It's Bell. B-E-L-L.
4.
Your name, please?
Gary Lowe, L-O-W-E.
5.
What's your last name?
Klein. K-L-E-I-N.
6.
Your last name, please.
Stewart.
How do you spell that?
S-T-E-W-A-R-T.
7.
Could you spell your last name, please?
It's Barnes, B-A-R-N-E-S.
8.
Your name, please?
Nielsen.
Nelson or Nielsen?
Nielsen. N-I-E-L-S-O-N.
9.
Spell your last name, please.
S-M-Y-T-H.
Oh, Smith with a Y?
That's right.
10.
What's your last name?
Sanders. S-A-N-D-E-R-S.
Exercise 8. Write the name you hear in each conversation. 1.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Bell. B-E-L-L.
2.
What's your last name?
Saunders. S-A-U-N-D-E-R-S.
3.
Your name, please?
Barnes, B-A-R-N-E-S.
4.
What's your name?
Sherry Smith. S-M-Y-T-H.
With a Y?
Yes, with a Y.
5.
Spell your last name, please.
C-L-I-N-E.
6.
Your last name, please?
Rowe, R-O-W-E.
Exercise 9. Listen to each word. Mark the box over the strongest vowel, A, E, I, O, U, or Y, or vowel combination in the word. 1.
Excuse.
2.
Johnson.
3.
Carolyn.
4.
Hello.
5.
Neighbor.
6.
Upstairs.
Exercise 10. Now do the same for each sentence in the conversation.
Excuse me. Are you Mrs. Nelson?
Yes, I am.
How do you do? I'm Joe Wilson. I live upstairs.
It's nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you, too. Excuse me. Are you Mrs. Nelson?
Yes, I am.
How do you do? I'm Joe Wilson. I live upstairs.
It's nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you, too.
All right, folks. These were just some additional exercises that I've added for the reinforcement of our listening practice, and also in order to make sure that we have learned everything effectively until now. So until next time that we meet for our new lesson, I wish you a wonderful time. Goodbye.